My ears now.
Why is it singing, Kate?
Okay, thank you. Sorry for.
Can you guys hear us?
Yeah, they can.
Okay, perfect.
We're good. Sorry, all.
Is there anybody online that is part of the forum or?
No, they
Okay.
can't. They have to be
Got it.
in
Okay.
person. If you just happens.
Okay, just to clarify for those who didn't hear us before, we did the opening statement, we held a pledge of allegiance, we did roll call, which we have quorum today. And then we just conducted officer nominations and elections. The motion was made to keep the same, the same, what is it called, cabinet
Officers.
the same officers. Jacob Landry will serve as chair again for another year. I will serve Rachel Godo as vice chair for another year, and then the secretary treasurer is Mayor Rosalind White, who will serve for another year. And that was motioned and seconded and accepted by the board. That works? Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 5, we have the technical advisory committee report out. Julia?
Yeah, so the last technical advisory committee is comprised of our state and federal representatives, as well as we have at-large members representing populations, municipalities under 30,000 and over 30,000. So we met on July 17th, and the bulk of the meeting, this is in your minutes, which we'll get the board to approve in a bit, was looking at the regional project criteria to circle back. So with through Office of Community Development, Louisiana Watershed Initiative, each watershed region is tasked with doing a watershed plan. This plan has many elements, and one of the elements is for each board to adopt this project prioritization matrix or regional project criteria. So we have been going through that as a technical advisory committee, which we have the recommendation for you today. Just looking how we prioritize projects should funding come available. And again, these would be multi-regional, large scale type of projects. Then I updated the group. We talked about watershed modeling, Alexandria's Gulf study, the fiscal years expected FY26, LWI gauges, 80, there's 80, now they're under DOTD, there's 83 locations for the state gauges, that includes flow calculations. I'm sorry, 83 locations included flow calculations, but it's been reduced to 41 locations. So unfortunately, they didn't get, I guess, like long-term funding for the LWI gauges. So there's a reduction in that. We just talked about a local gauge network, which we'll have an update later in the meeting, and inform the committee what the board has been looking at for some type of sustainable funding. Also, we talked about looking at a regional flood coordination system. So we decided that once we need a funding mechanism, that knowing that the board's going to move forward long-term, then we can get back and looking at being some kind of a regional flood coordinator within the region. Also, we talked about increasing community rating system participation, which our parishes need, which we also will be talking about that a little bit later in the meeting, how the Acadiana Watershed District can maybe help our parishes participate. We only have one parish out of all our 60 participating in the community rating system. And that's an incentive program that you parishes participate and you can get points, and that can help reduce flood insurance premiums on the residential and commercial, as well as certain government buildings. And then lastly, for the technical assistance committee, we had Allie Olsenowski. She's the project manager of the Environmental Defense Fund. She presented on the Southwest Coastal Louisiana Home Elevation Program. This is 100% voluntary, and there's no cost share again to elevate houses. And these are specifically, if you're looking at Calcasieu, Cameron, and Million parishes, but Allie will come speak at our board meeting in November as well to our board members, but she spoke to our technical advisory committee about that program. And
Is that home elevation program particular to those parishes, and it aligns with like the core, I think the core's plan?
yeah, so the interesting, it is a plan through the Army Corps, but it's not the Mississippi Valley Division, it's the MRD Mississippi, is that river, sorry, MRD, which is kind of odd, she said, but, yeah, but
They're
they're
out of like Iowa,
some,
Illinois, some I,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
information.
No, that's it. That's pretty much it. It's not New Orleans.
Correct. So anyway, they're trying to get more participation for this program, so she'll be presenting to the board, but the focus is on those three parishes for Cameron County, 40 million, that's as about.
Thank you.
And the listing was decided on by him long ago. So it's not like something you knew where you could start applying.
Yeah,
They've already
Yeah,
identified.
it's not open for
They
new
thought they
starters.
were gonna elevate.
Correct.
and it's voluntary.
Yeah,
Okay,
but it's 100%.
100%, yeah.
Another like caveat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
But it's just, I was about to say, let's make sure we go.
100% cost shared, voluntary, but the time that you spend outside your home while it's being elevated is not covered. That's the only downside, so you have to find somewhere to stay.
And the other thing is you're not required to keep flood insurance.
Correct, yeah, I don't think it's required.
Which with other buyout programs, you were required to keep flood insurance, correct?
Yeah, but we're still doing those. Do about 5 a year, but.
Good. Anything else on the report?
That is it.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 6, action summaries for approval. Killian?
You have a lot in there, so, we have meeting action summaries, meeting minutes from 2 board meetings. So we had a board meeting in February, board meeting in May, and then there's 3 technical advisory committee meetings. That we had a special meeting in March, a meeting in April, and a meeting in July that I just gave the report out. So that's in your agenda packet, and most of you have seen these at the previous board meeting. In May, you just did not have a forum to approve them.
And there are the, in case you missed the date, there are the dates for that.
We need to get hold of them. Those are in your packet.
I move to approve the action summaries as submitted.
In Globo?
And dismiss read.
Second.
I'll take it.
Second. Okay. We have a motion by Mayor White and a second by Jacob Coco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 7, vision and mission statements. Gilia?
Next slide. So this is also a previous agenda item. The technical advisory committee had finalized their suggestions to the board for our vision and mission statement. The board, again, we have forum, but those who attended in May, we did add, the vision statement had that we wanted to address, Acadiana Watershed District wanted to proactively address water quality, quantity and quality. That was not in the mission statement, so we added that to promote flood risk and reduction and water quality improvement. But I can read those as well. So vision statement, so overall vision statement for Acadiana Watershed District to proactively address water quantity and quality for flood risk and mitigation and ecosystem health through regional watershed management and coordination. Our mission to promote flood risk reduction and water quality improvement for regional coordination using science-based data by cooperating with agencies engaged in planning and construction projects and establishing best practice development standards in the region. This was also pulled from the language that's in our legislation, which was suggested. I don't know if anyone has any comments on this mission, vision and mission statements, or who has a motion to.
Abigail moves to adopt as written.
A second?
I guess I shouldn't say Abigail.
I'll take that.
Okay, Jacob a second. So Mayor White first and Jacob seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 8, bylaw amendments.
Okay, the next slide. So the bylaw amendments we had talked about again last meeting, we're looking at first, the officer, elections. We didn't have anything specifically about the terms. And then we also talked about, meeting attendance requirements. That was a little loose in our bylaws. Yeah, so this should be, in your packet as well. I hope I've added that to the packet. Let's look at the first one. So for officer election, Because we met, officially last June, that's why we said, we have officer elections could be annually and current every June. Officers can serve a term of 1 year from the date they were elected. We talked about, having this if an officer resigns within 6 months of their term, the new officer can be elected to serve the remaining 6 months of that 1 year term. An officer that previously served can be elected for a second and final term. If the present officer is not elected for a second term, that individual has the option to be elected again after sitting out for 1 year. So say that maybe, Rachel wasn't elected again, she wants to sit out this year, then she could be eligible for potential election the following year. So if the individual is elected again after the 1 year hiatus period, that individual can serve one final term up to 2 years. Anyone have any questions on this?
So if he runs, doesn't win, then she makes a year, runs again, doesn't get a chance to wait another year? Or is it's null and void after that she can't do the trial?
No, I mean, I would think that, so if she didn't get elected this year, right, that's a year, so she could try again. If she wouldn't get elected, I mean, she could try again.
But should that have a year, maybe? Or not?
No, because she wouldn't have served,
Oh, okay.
basically. That's the way I kind of read it. And the other thing, I don't think that this just popped into my head. That it never occurred to me until just this moment that. So you guys hold these seats, and I think if Rob.
You can use me as an example.
If the mayor wanted to run for another seat, I think that they could based off of what this says now. So are y'all okay with that, right? Or do you want to say, no, you served 2 terms, it doesn't matter what seat you're sitting in, like you're done?
Yeah, I think better clarified a little better, that somebody could interpret it that way.
The other,
Right.
the other
I
issue I can see is that it's in the way it's written, it's in perpetuity, that someone can't serve more than 2 years,
Yeah. that's
period, right?
it. Yeah,
So say somebody ends up being on this board for 8 years, and at some point it comes around, they're willing and you need a president, this would prevent them from being there because they had already served 2 years. So you might want to set, I know we didn't think of that before, but.
It's not, it's like literally that just occurred to me. So I guess, again, what is the board's take? Like, if people are not willing to volunteer, like, we gotta have a chair, at least a chairperson, vice chairperson.
And remind me, what are the terms, the appointed terms? I know it's different for Jacob and I, as opposed to the different parishes, but.
So it runs on so the parish president is the highest seat, right? So
Mhm.
police jury president or parish president that actually has the seat at the table. They have the ability to appoint someone else. But like, let's say that they appoint, I'll take Dirk, for example. The police jury president of Evangeline has appointed Dirk as his, basically, to fill his seat. And police juries are a little different because they are elected every year, right? If, let's just say Kevin is not the police jury president next year, whoever the incoming person is their seat. They didn't have to make the decision. Does Dirk stay as their appointee, or do they take that seat?
So that's basically an annual appointment, depending on who's.
For them, depending if Kevin wins police jury president seat, then it stays that way. For those of them that are 4-year term, like parish presidents, it's 4 years. Their seat is for 4, or however long they're in office. If they're no longer in office, then it's the new incoming person to either sit or appoint somebody to sit in their. It's basically how the legislation is written.
You probably won't have that issue.
I don't think we should limit the officers from moving from one position to another, because I think it provides an institutional knowledge, right?
Okay.
So
I would agree with that. I'd offer some language. I would say that you can serve no more than 2 consecutive years in one specific position,
Okay.
and kind of let that be the end of it. So if you roll all the way through secretary, treasurer, vice chair, chair over the course of 6 years, and you want to go back to secretary, treasurer, if the board wants to let them, by all means.
Okay. All right, so we can do one of two things. You guys can vote on this today. You can go back, revise language, and then bring it back to you in November. That's completely up to you.
We're not in a huge rush, right?
No, I don't think so.
Draft it, bring it back, please.
Okay, that works.
Do we need to take action on that or we're good? Just defer,
Just defer till next month
or, okay,
for that one, but I think she has them both, on the vision and they're having shit together.
Okay.
So whenever you'll look at the mission state, no, sorry.
we adopted a vision mission.
Yeah.
We just need to defer the amendments for the bylaws.
New
The
motion.
bylaws are grouped together, so we'll just have to, you can decide if you want to vote on the next one also, or if you want to just defer that also.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Can I get a motion to defer? Oh, well, we have one from,
I'll
Matt.
second.
Okay, and second by Mayor White. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 9, regional
Wait, can
project.
we look at the other?
Yeah,
ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
sorry.
we can make sure that y'all are no changes there.
Yeah.
Can you, forward?
So I said bylaws and amendments, there's actually, I guess, two, so.
So this is the member attendance one. This is the, so can y'all like, can we look at that and let us know if that's good or if you need changes?
Chair, you want to read that?
So I think in one of the meetings, I think someone brought up what is the medical thing that they're missing for, so we addressed that in the medical reason. Curious if you want to.
Yeah, so as in earlier, you said about two-thirds, maybe have board members attend 2/3 of the meetings, this is only have 4, which have half, so it said board members are expected to attend at least 2 of 4 quarterly board meetings each year. If a member is unable to meet this requirement due to a medical condition, their absence will not be counted against them. In case the medical condition is prolonged, the appropriate parish or police should be present and appoint a replacement. Failure to attend at least 2 meetings without a valid medical reason may result in a member being considered for removal. The respective parish or police jury president can be notified of their designated appointee's lack of attendance. At that point, will be determined whether the current member will remain on the board or be replaced. If the board member in question is the parish police jury president serving, a new appointee will need to be selected to fill their role on the board if they haven't attended. That's, we kind of took your feedback from the May meeting and incorporated that.
So that last statement, is pretty strong. You're saying that if the police jury president is the person is serving and he doesn't use a 50% attendance, that a new appointee has to be
Like they have to
replaced.
appoint someone who attend. I mean, what do y'all the board?
I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here with you guys. You gonna say that the parish president can't come and represent his parish at that point? I'm throwing it out as a devil's advocate.
I think they're
Yeah.
saying that if he fails to do so, then he should be replaced. Which is a different statement, right? He has the choice, he has the opportunity to, but if he chooses not to.
You reworded or?
But I'll go to you guys as
Let's
as
talk
parish
for sure.
people.
You've got made language in the second paragraph, which gives the flexibility to the board. I appreciate that. Some folks wanted to not be flexible because they don't want the awkwardness of saying, hey, I think we need to vote to get so and so out of here, right? I like the flexibility. Some people may disagree. I think if you're gonna keep it in the second paragraph, you need it in the last two. May, it may.
Okay.
To replace will be May.
Okay.
Any other discussions on it?
And we'll revise that and bring it back to you.
Yeah, I don't know why you have to address that.
If it says May in the second, you could.
I'm saying that the last paragraph, I don't even know why it needs to be in there. It doesn't matter who it is, whoever the person is, whether it's the parish president or an appointee, if they're not showing up.
Okay,
Yeah,
we can
so why
strike
am
the
I-
whole point. We can strike the whole last thing.
It doesn't make them, they're not any different.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah. So you would move the last.
Yeah.
Just help tell them.
Yeah.
There we go.
Do we want to vote on this or?
No, you guys deferred it.
Oh.
We'll just go ahead and, I just want to make sure you didn't have any questions. We'll bring both of those back to you in November based off of those.
Okay, got it. Any other discussion on this agenda item? All right, moving on to agenda item number 9, regional project criteria. Gilead?
I have Kay bring that up, the document. So you have a document next to your agenda packet that's separate. I forgot to add it to the agenda packet, so I have it printed out now for you guys. This is what I was saying earlier, the technical advisory committee was working on this requirement of our watershed plans. So we're looking at how do we prioritize projects, as a district when that time comes. I kind of did a step process, that it was agreed, technical advisory committee, step one would be the project proof of concept to run through the watershed model. Let's look at the watershed model results. Depending what happens with that, that's a go. Then we have step two, this project questionnaire. You've seen this before, it's kind of like a feasibility screening. And then after the questionnaire, then we actually would have, as a board, we have scoring criteria for a particular project. I can run through the questionnaire real quick. That's kind of easy. Number one, they're just talking about the concept project purpose that was added. Technical advisory committee members, so we didn't have that at the beginning. So yeah, what's your project? What's your purpose? The funding request, and number two, how much funds do you need? Again, for the questionnaire. Number three was, is the project shovel ready? That was an important consideration. Provide details on what makes the project shovel ready. Also was brought up about project permits. Just like, can you describe the anticipated types of permits for this project and a timeline to obtain those permits? Any kind of project you're doing, the permits can take a while. Also, number five, jurisdictional agreements. Provide details on the number of landowners that can be involved and sign copies of any established agreements depending on the type of project. Number six, we want to know the proposed project and completion, looking at the phase of engineering planning or construction phase. Phase of engineering planning and construction phases will not be considered for funding. So we want to see how the proposed project can provide a complete flood risk mitigation solution. Going back to the questionnaire, number seven. This kind of gets into our scoring criteria, which we can look at in a second. The population benefited. Number eight, the number of critical infrastructures benefited. Then number nine, we looked at Hub 12, the number of Hub 12 watersheds benefited. The watershed models are on a Hub 8, so it's bigger, but we wanted to kind of drill down and look at the small watersheds that could be benefited to projects. Then number 10, what is the acreage of the Hub 8 benefited? Number 11, is there a 10-year water surface reduction? And then two more questions. Sorry, for the life of the project, constructability and sustainability. Number 12 was the life of the project design. Explain the estimated infrastructure life of the proposed design of the project. Number 13, again, we'll go over that. This is in the criteria for scoring the operation and maintenance improvements. Explain how the proposed project can be operated and maintained once the project construction has been completed. Specifically address parties responsible for O&M and any agreements indicating long-term funding sources that could be identified for the operation and maintenance of this project. Any questions on the screening criteria? This is something that as a steering committee back in 2021, this has evolved, so it's been a while. We look at the actual criteria that like your Excel sheets, wrote the colors. You kind of kept it simple. The committee did your numerical values and your scores. You looked at first the population or regional structures benefited. We looked at number of people benefited in the proposed project area. You suggested basis on the 10-year storm. You had your priority value, more people than the higher score. Then you can look at the number of structures benefited are critical to that. So the project will mitigate loss of service from one or more critical facilities, and we have a point there. Regional area benefited, going back to the number of watersheds benefited to Hub 12. And that's just how many watersheds you have to get a point for more watersheds benefited at the Hub 12 level. Percentage of watershed impacted at Hub 8. That was also decided 10%, 11, 25, 60, 49, 50% gets you a higher score. Then also, we looked at the water surface reduction for the 10-year storm. The more inches gives you more higher score. And going back to project constructability and sustainability, so the questionnaire said the life of the project design goes from 25 to 100 years. You get points for that. Operation maintenance plans. The O and M plans included in the application. Of course, there's priorities and funding that could be identified for the long-term operation and maintenance. Another point for that. Then we had talked about optional criteria. Again, these are all living documents, so this can, change, but we just needed at least a vote for now, and put in our watershed plan. Yeah.
And some of these optional benefits came from, as the federal government landscape changes, right? Different administrations prioritize different things. And there was a large shift from the previous administration to this administration, right? And so we kind of like tried to encompass like all of the things, so that way if a grant, if a project is applying for a federal grant that requires certain things as part of the application, those are kind of some of the things that the co-benefits to add extra points, came to be. That's how that kind of came to happen.
So this co-benefits could be like previously, does it help, does the project affect socially vulnerable? Does it incorporate nature-based solutions? Does it enhance floodplain connectivity? Also aquatic connectivity, someone has suggested we could provide recreation in rural areas, that could be, a benefit. And also any type of economic activity, which would have to be approved, there's some kind of statement about that. It's just 1 point extra. Try to keep it simple.
So y'all took the original evaluation criteria and a subcommittee met on it to kind of refine it.
Correct. So the
Okay.
technical advisory committee met several times to kind of refine this criteria to come back to present it to the board.
Okay, and so this, you said this goes into a watershed plan?
Right, so each OCD has, each region is going to do a regional watershed plan. There's different elements we have to address, and this was one of it. How do you prioritize projects?
And you'll have an update on the watershed plan, like what are all the elements that are going into it? Does it get to a level of specificity that we can start identifying maybe some projects? Because I know maybe I'm jumping too much, but CPRA is going through their master planning effort, right? Can we put any of these projects that maybe we prioritize as a group and advocate for it on the CPRA master plan? Or maybe some other funding sources that may become available? Like what's taking this to the next step?
It can be incorporated in it. You can do, I guess, above, the minimum as well. So I know the project inventory, which we do have, but that was part of the plan. OCD is calling a project pipeline, where we can incorporate that. We don't have a consultant for the plans. I'm kind of working on the plan. So
Okay.
I've had it kind of on the back burner for a little bit while looking at sustainable funding, but that can be incorporated.
I mean, the ultimate goal, right, is for the watershed district to come up with a list of projects that you guys, as the watershed, prioritize. Could some of those go in CPRA? Probably so, depending on, I'm assuming the size,
And geographical location.
right, and the location. So yeah, some of that probably could go into there. But that's the ultimate goal, is that there's a priority list, so then that way we can go back and say, okay, well, based off of this funding source, this project applies. It may not be number one on the list, but it's on the list, right? But number one doesn't qualify for this type of funding. As you know, when you talk about federal government, there's certain requirements that you have to meet in order to apply for a project. The last thing you want to do is do, round peg, square hole type situation where we're applying for a project and the funding is, we spin our wheels because at the end of the day, the project doesn't qualify for that funding. So it's, how do we get a rank list based off of data and science to then go and match funding to that? Some could go with CPRA. There's now what's called current, which is like the inland waterland component to CPRA, which is going to be housed in DOTD. I've had conversations with Eric Dolphinay, who was the assistant secretary, but now kind of switched over to a different role, about how do we plug the watershed into that current, right? How can we be a resource to them? So those are just some of the conversations that we're having. But that's the ultimate goal of the list.
Do we need to adopt this criteria or?
I had added it, just an additional agenda item, so I didn't make it an action, so give you a little time to kind of review it now that it's been finalized, the technical advisory committee, and we can vote on that at the November meeting, at our next board meeting. Does
I
anyone
think
have
it's
any
good.
questions right now? Project criteria?
I know it's not,
Take a
I know
look
it's a
at it.
heavy lift, so thank y'all for the work
Yeah.
going into it.
Take a look at it and if it's wrong, like, please say it's wrong. Tell us what's the best thing to do.
All right, good. Any other discussion on that item? Moving on to agenda item number 10, 2026 board meeting alternating venues.
Okay, so yeah, so last meeting, I was brought up to, maybe to help with attendance as well. If we want to, it's up to the board, if you want to change meeting locations. Then we all talked about changing days or times of the meetings. A survey. And, I think it was kind of split. Most people wanted to keep the meeting, here, they were okay with the location. You know, sometimes things come up, I understand, that's like some people just having trouble attending some of the meetings. Some people some people said the time is okay, some of the responses were saying, let's change the time. Then, you know, someone said that they got a preference to Tuesday, Wednesday meetings or Monday. Honestly, I don't think I could do a Monday meeting, this is a lot for a Monday, just the prep work, I'm talking, and for y'all too as well. Some preferred morning, some preferred afternoon. So I know 10 o'clock is kind of the middle of the day, so if people have to travel like an hour or 2 hours, it kind of takes your whole day away. So just want to present that to the board, the one to vote on the location, another time, another day. Because usually what I do at the end of the year, before the next board meeting, try to establish, you know, the schedule for the meeting prior, especially if we need to book, you know, this room. Any thoughts on that or?
My thought would be is the ones who aren't typically showing up. And we actually call them and ask them why they're not coming.
Not yet, yeah. I mean, I've
Well,
been in some
Not necessarily,
conversation.
because you said, in a survey,
Yeah.
I don't need to change nothing,
No, right, yeah. so
but
it's-
I'm the one who brought it up because there's a reason why they're not coming. We need to know what that reason is. If it's
Right.
because of a location or time or whatever.
So some of the survey responses, right, people are like saying that they had something else came up abruptly, or they have a lot of other job duties, or it's a volunteer position, so sometimes they have to prioritize other actions. And maybe in that case, maybe we could get the parish or police jury president to appoint someone else. And that's why we had that attendance requirement in the bylaws.
And we can be hybrid, and
I'm sorry.
we can be hybrid, like Zoom.
You, for the quorum count, you have to, that's the state law, you have to
State law,
attend in
yeah.
person.
So do you have a procedure to notify the president that their member is not attending? Do you have that procedure yet?
Well, once we adopted the bylaws and then, then I was, the procedure, I could give them a call. We
Right.
could
No,
help
I
them.
think make sure we follow through with some sort of procedure where they've been notified that members not attending.
Correct.
Do we want to propose any alternative sites or is Lafayette a good site? I'm a little biased, so I don't want to comment.
I'm with Lafayette.
Huh?
I'm fine with Lafayette.
Okay. What about a different day, different time?
Yeah, it's fine, he comes.
And St. Mary has to come a long ways too.
Yeah, they're,
It's okay.
Does the morning or afternoon make a difference to anybody?
I like the way it is.
Yeah, I like it like it is.
I can do that.
you can do that for you.
All right, it sounds like we keep the meeting time and location the same.
And we should have a forum when we have our meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing for me is I'll miss, I guess it'd be a second quarter meeting. I won't be able to be here because of short, session.
You got a job.
Understood.
Yeah. That should.
That kind of fits medical.
Medical.
Yeah, that's a medical.
Nominations, I'm your proxy.
Yeah, you got reelected or current.
My wife would take me to dinner.
All right, any other discussions on alternating venues? All right, moving on to agenda item number 11. sustainable funding options. Julia, Sarah,
Line.
So while Cody gets that, so we obviously had these conversations, I think second month, look, we put an action on there. You guys do not have to vote. We just kind of need to know what path you're looking for moving forward. So we did a subset, for a sustainable funding group. They asked us, we came up with some different options. One was until we can get long-term funding, how do we fund this through maybe like some type of fee, like with the parishes paying. The other one is that we've talked about long-term is the stormwater management fee, right? But that's gonna take us a little while to figure out. And so basically, how do we fund this until, right? Or at least funding the meetings. And so, I think in the last meeting, I think it was Keith that said, hey, what is to operate annually, right? What would y'all need, right? And so Killia worked on this budget. And then we met with the 3 officers a couple of times and kind of went over and fleshed some things out. And that'll be a later, you'll see a later slide, but this is, basically operate annually, to continue, doing what, although it's just holding these meetings, but it's all the behind the scenes stuff that you guys don't see on the day to day that Killia does, right? And so this is kind of that budget.
That was just like, like a breakdown page on scroll 11, this is in your agenda packet. So the next page, who's involved and kind of what's done. So like Sarah said, let's look at the options that was suggested for last meeting. This would be some type of membership fee the parishes would pay. This is based on population, option 1, to get us to that. We just did 250,000.
Population in the watershed.
Correct, in the watershed, yes, not.
Should we clarify that?
I mean, because Iberville only has, we have a small, I'll call it, they have a small portion, there's 69 people, their yearly due would be $22. They only got 69 people. The second option
But
was,
they could get a $50 million project.
yes, they could get a $50 million.
Maybe.
For 20, actually, they could for $22 a year.
How many people they have?
Everybody gets one vote.
Keith.
Yeah.
What you see on there, you think the mayor would have a problem with that?
I think it's this, when they go to option 2 is what we should be doing.
Option 2?
Yeah.
Based on-
Go Option 2.
The option
One
2
area?
is you just split everything.
I just, I went to 250 and split it even.
They have an equal vote though, to get the same share of the money as anyone else. That's the thing.
I understand that. Yeah.
And then the third option, I think it was Mr. Earl that said, what about non-population? What about area? And so that's the third, we took the square miles and that's the third option that you see. So there's 3 options to basically say, okay, if you guys want to move forward with this, keeping AC as the watershed district consultant to continue the work that we're doing. While we work on hopefully trying to figure out the watershed, the stormwater management fee option for you guys. And I think we have those for the watershed, the stormwater management fee kind of just in case you wanted to see that again.
Yeah.
Can I ask about that? So if you do get to the point of having the stormwater utility fee generate the funding for capital improvements, would this go away?
It goes away, yes, correct.
And the parish should actually get funds from the stormwater.
Correct.
Not only a take, it's a give.
Correct.
Yeah.
Can you, I don't know, I think that he's showing up, so I just added that, okay, this is, I call it a comprehensive budget, like,
This
and
is,
everything.
right, this is once you have to be like running the, hiring somebody to run the model, to do, to do all of that. Having money for match, all of that. That's what this thing is, this what this budget is. This is
See
the,
that they will
this
feel on
is
it.
that where the third of that would go back to the mayor.
Yeah, last meeting just presented this kind of rough draft about looking at stormwater fee based on parcels. So for parish, and it's not to confuse you, but The third of that fee, the total fee, those fee go back to each parish of the stormwater fees.
So technically, the first column is if we talk, this is the parcel count of each parish, right? Then, and this is only the area that is within the watershed district, okay? Some of you guys only have a small portion. This is if we charged everybody just $30 a parcel. You break that down by 12, that's $2.50 a month. To just bring that back to everyday things. A family, my family of 4 could not eat at Chick-fil-A because it cost me more than $30 to eat at Chick-fil-A for my family of 4, right? If I wanted to buy my drink that I drink at Starbucks, I have to save 3 months in order to pay for that one drink. Because it breaks down to $2.50 a month. So that's what this would be for each, this is what each parish would collect based off of a $30 fee, based off of their parcel count, okay? A third of that fee would go back to the parish. It would be specified, we'd have to write it because I don't want it to go to their general fund. I want it to go specifically to drainage functions within that parish, right? And I guess all of you could agree to that, right? We want to make sure it goes back to drainage function. And the other 2/3 of that would go to the operation of the watershed district. That would be for match, that would be for model running,
Chasing
all the
grants.
things, right? All the things. So that's the ultimate goal. Now, we just did $30 a parcel, but Huey and I are not experts in this. We'll be honest with you. And so to do this, what we would like to do is hire a consultant to tell us what's the best way to do this, right? We're gonna meet with some people next week, hopefully to kind of give us some recommendations that we can then bring to you guys. But the point of this is that it could be, again, we said $30, but do we charge residential less than what we charge commercial? Because at the end of the day, commercial actually does take up, they have a more pervious surface versus impervious. So those are all things that as we move along in this, that's what we're hoping a consultant can kind of help us do. We just, for the purposes of this, just said, let's just charge everybody $30. That $30 could be $10, that $30 could be $50. It's kind of sort of whatever the board would decide on, we just threw something out there.
There, oh, go ahead.
Well, that looks good. I wanted to go back to the option 1 and 2 of the, and 3. If 2 and 3 of the members decide they're not gonna participate,
That's another hard conversation that we're going to have. Because we're gonna have to. The way the legislation is written right now. We did not split up our bounds. We kept our Region 5 boundary for LWI. We can go back, we would have, whoever's gonna pay in, right? They're the ones that should get the benefit. The board would then have a decision to make. For those that are not paying in, we go back and change the legislation to add some language that allows them to still participate, but they don't get a vote at the table. They're just an ex officio member, right? But it would have to be written broad enough to where if at a later point in time, they're like, okay, you guys have proven your worth and we would like to reap some of the benefits, and they start paying into the system, that they would then get a vote at the table. So there's a lot of things to figure out based off of all of that. Go ahead, Matt.
You can accomplish that without having to write language for it. I mean, just the dissemination of information. I'm sitting at the table, but I haven't paid, then the guy sitting around the table here shouldn't vote for my project.
Right.
So it can kind of happen de facto.
Do we put it in our bylaw that if you're not paying, you can't even submit a project?
We can, yes. I mean, we definitely could do that.
Not even considering your
But
project.
Can y'all-
be careful because you may need to go through their territory to complete a project.
Right.
So
Right.
this is touchy.
Well, and not only that, I'll take the Vermilion, the floodgates at the bottom of the Vermilion, that project, right? Let's just say like it says, I'm not paying into that.
Oh, wait, no, we
No.
use another paragraph.
You want it? I have to get that for us. Let's just say, we're putting the floodgates at, what, a portion of something on, at Rapides, right? Well, although, and let's say they pay, that they're paying in, but whoever to the north of them is not. That parish to the north, because of the floodgate, right, would actually have a benefit. So there's also those things, right?
Well, that'll be our choice in the end. I mean,
Right.
it's still our choice to make as a group.
Yeah,
I'm saying, but if they're not paying, they shouldn't even be able to present a project. That means they're not giving any benefit straight out.
Why don't y'all do this? Why don't you explore some language? We've already had doing amendments, right? To our bylaws.
Yeah.
And maybe have some one-off conversations to see what makes sense and propose some options.
I'm just trying to find a way where you have to go back to the legislation. Get something
Yeah.
done.
Would you have to rewrite it if we did?
I'm saying you can just put the bylaws.
I mean, if we put it in the bylaws, I don't think so, but
Our
I'm also
bylaws
not,
do
I'm
not need to
also
be
not an
fixed in our
attorney
legislation.
to answer that question 100% also.
Still advocate for maximum flexibility. If you don't write it in there and you provide the information, we get a vote. So we can still control that with, all the information we have at the time, whether somebody's paying, whether they get a benefit, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, we'll go back and propose some language or give you some options to choose. for that. But it is, Earl, to your point, I mean, as a board, you guys are gonna have to make some hard decisions on who decides to pay into the system and who doesn't, and what that looks like. Again, there's also been talks, I mean, do we keep the district as a whole? People have asked me that. Do we split it? So, there's that.
You guys want to vote on a recommendation of the options today until the utility fees in place?
You don't have to, because I know we kind of sent this out late to you.
Yeah.
So it was already on the agenda as an action item. You were more than welcome to defer this until November. I think it was Jacob that asked at the last Friday meeting. We have spoken with OCD. OCD has said yes, although we don't have the official thing yet, that they will give us an extension on our current funding that we have. Current funding that we have, would take us beyond December of 2026. However, OCD will only allow for a 1-year extension. Okay, so that will take us through December of 2026. Part of what we will probably have a conversation with you guys in November, if we can work all of the particulars out, is figuring out, do we have the leftover funds and getting the approval from OCD, if we do, to hire a consultant to figure out this stormwater
That's
thing,
what I was
right?
gonna ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we kind of this all kind of came together yesterday at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That we started getting answers from OCD. So we didn't have enough time to do it. So we'll be able to hopefully present you. What I can tell you is that we do need to figure out what this piece of the puzzle is, but we do have another year of funding from the LWI funding that we have, and hopefully we'll have some extra that we can hire consultants to figure out the stormwater fee. But we will need to figure this out sooner versus later.
So in relation to stormwater fee, if that's where we want to go, how far ahead do we have to have it in place? In other words, if you don't do it soon enough next year, you won't even, it'll be another year before you collect.
Correct. I mean,
Conversation.
I think, and everybody in here's budget is different, right? And just because you made the decision here, we then have to meet with the representative and either the parish president or police jury president to find out that they're okay putting it into their budget, right? Because there's that next step. And so, once you guys choose on whatever that option is, then it's going and sitting down, scheduling with the rep here, as well as whether it's police jury president or parish president, to have that conversation so they can work to get that in. If they're okay with that, work to get that into their next budget cycle.
Yeah.
So.
That's,
And then, because I do believe that figuring out the stormwater thing, it's gonna take a while. And then on top of that, there's a whole educational component, like an education campaign that we're gonna have to go on. Because although state law says we can just do it, it's not the right way to do it. Baton Rouge has failed epically when they just did it. And so our whole thing is that what we would like to do is we work this out, then we go to each of the councils and get their buy-in. But there's gonna be some education on the front end before we get the council's buy-in, because we're gonna have to educate the police jury president, the parish president. And then once they do that, then they'll be we'll probably would like to host public meetings in whether that's 1 or 2 public meetings in each of the parishes, so that way we can get the word out to the individual, the citizens, right? Because they're going to see that on some type of utility bill. What that is yet is yet to come, but you don't want them to get caught flat-footed and not see that and not know that that's what that's going to be. Some people, again, you could put a $2, you could put a $5, $10 fee on one of my utility bills. I probably wouldn't even pay attention to it. I would just pay it, but not everybody is like that. So
No,
people will notice.
you were saw it with just a little bit of uptick.
Right. So, yeah. So we do want to hold, once we get the council and the parish president or police jury president buy-in, we do want to hold public engagement pieces in each of those parishes so we can educate the general populace as to why this is important. Again, I read an article yesterday, some of you may have seen it, I think I saw it was either KLFY or KATC, and basically the study that was done in Louisiana is the second, Florida being the highest, but the second state as far as the cost of recovery. I think of 10,000 people, I think there was like a $3 billion estimate per 10,000. So this is why people ask us all the time, why is the watershed district important? This is why it's important. It's how do we affect not only you guys as elected officials, but your folks that live there. How do we help them bring their flood insurance down? How do we help you guys keep your folks safe from flooding? Because it's not just hurricanes anymore. It's regular rain that we're getting that it's just unbelievable. And so that's what the watershed district is hopefully going to be designed to do.
And just to clarify, Sarah, can you take it a little bit further on that? So this stormwater, let's say the stormwater fee gets implemented, what would those things be used for?
So part is gonna be matched, right? For construction projects that are like large scale construction projects. Part of it is gonna be for running the model, so we have the data and science behind making sure we're choosing the right projects. What the other thing that we would love to do, right now, we have 16 parishes. Of those 16 parishes, only 1 parish participates in the CRS program, which is a community rating system program, right? And so our goal is to ensure that all the parishes within our region can participate in that, because what that does is that is a direct saving to the individuals in your parishes on their flood insurance. And for you guys as elected officials, if you're not self-insured, right? If you're insured through an agent on your public buildings, if the higher you are in that community rating system, the more of a discount you'll get on your flood insurance. Think of it, this CRS program is similar to the fire rating system. That the higher you are in the fire rating system, the more discount you get on your homeowner's insurance. So I think Killia has some numbers that she got from Stephanie for CRS stuff.
Like in your packet, maybe, or Casey has this as well, if you just bring up, CRS. The last pages, in your packet, which charts, this was done years ago. I think I call it like a kind of a what if statement if you participate. So I have all the parishes, I think, in our district. So you can find your parish and it looks as your basic discount would be 10%. There's certain requirements, it's at the bottom. But it shows, what those total discounts would be, like for Acadia Parish, I think you're doing that right, like 77,000. And this is maybe 50 years ago, so these numbers might, can change. Allen Parish, you can have those discounts of 12,000 for, again, flood insurance, and this we understand, and I got some information from Lafayette Parish Floodplain Administrator, Clay Boudreaux, that it's going to apply obviously residential, commercial, and look at some government buildings, there's some exceptions. Just it shows like the cost savings. Calcasieu Parish, total $385,000 discounted total for your flood insurance. But also the CRS program, money talks, right? So we look at that, and that's important. People can't even, they're having trouble affording their home insurance. Flood insurance, risk rating 2.0. But there are elements of the CRS program that actually just, what you're doing can just helps you overall as a parish. For anywhere from communications or small, I guess, the practices that you're doing in your parish. So, and then the Lafayette Parish by next year, those articles should go to class 7. Maybe it's up to 20 to 25% discount, sorry. Which means you're 20, it's, anyway, it's a bigger discount, so the higher, gets the old is class 1.
If the policies listed here, are those ones just in the district, or that's parish wide?
I think that's parish.
Okay.
Yes, so yeah, thank you, Matt. So I think these numbers, like parish wide, not just the ones that are in the Acadiana watershed. So
How old are these numbers?
maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
in my parish, y'all have part of the parish, it's not really terrible. The part that's more terrible is not included. I guess that's how they split it all up and everything. I need to go home and figure out if this is worth it to do this. Because when we had the hurricane last year, I just went and got the money and didn't have to go through any process other than the normal process from the CPRA. And I'd like to just talk about this for the next meeting and see what we can do if we're going to stay in or not.
Yeah, we're welcome to this conversation.
Okay. All right.
Before we move on too far, I wanted to throw out, we're having consultants provide a little bit of free help right now on doing the exact same thing that you're looking at for, trying to determine per parcel fees or the right way to do it, total, impervious surface and all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to share that with you guys, kind of give you some template and maybe some stuff that you want to try to do in-house versus having pay consultants for, but I do want to offer that. You guys are welcome to have a hold of everything you've already worked.
For a
for.
parish, we'll look at
Yes.
that.
Yeah, thank you. We would be very much interested in that.
Gotcha.
I don't also about the goal, that was one of our goals for my legislation to have CRS participation. I heard it's not very easy getting in the program. But I guess we could look at, I don't know how much it would, cost for if the Acadiana Watershed District would help each parish that's not participating in the CRS system to participate, but maybe I can find out some numbers. Or we start with the ones that give you most benefit. Getting how the forward vote. It's all depends on funding as well.
Are y'all going to hire people to go get that funding? What's that goal? Let's say everything gets set up and all this and the funding becomes, there's some funding out there. How are you gonna apply for
So the watershed district, so because it was created legislatively, is considered a public, a political subdivision of the state, so they can apply and receive federal funds for projects that the board would vote on. They can go after capital outlay, should they choose to do that.
That's an easy one, yeah.
They could go after, your federal earmark, should the board choose to do that for projects, so.
And we've actually done that. And so I'm just looking for the additional value of being here.
So I do agree with you. Every parish kind of does it individually in a silo and takes kind of care of their own. I think that the part of this body was that, and we understand that our water goes all the way down through St. Mary from Lafayette Parish, goes through Vermillion, is the coordination between the two parishes to ensure that we're doing a project in a particular parish that is kind of large scale. So we're having some conversation about judging the Vermillion. Obviously, that's going to impact our parish. It's going to impact Vermillion Parish. What does that look like? I want to make sure I'm at the table with Vermillion, because the last thing I want to do is hurt Vermillion. We've been in a position that there's been some projects that have been pushed that have impacted another parish. We're actually in a lawsuit right now, still contending with that. We want to make sure that these conversations are kind of happening at this level. And at some point, I think we need to get to talking about maybe some of these larger scale projects that are happening in one parish versus another. I know I've heard one of the consultants say for quite some time about, there's some challenges presented at a GIWW and conveying water through that particular structure. But I would like to know how that impacts Lafayette Parish in particular, again, because the water all travels south through the Gulf. So I think that's the purpose of being at the table in these discussions, is that I know each parish, again, has the capability to move forward, getting their own funds, planning their own projects. But how does the collective come to the table and have those discussions where the projects might impact one another? And if there is a priority, we went through an exercise back right after 2016 where this group was given $25 million and it landed in our lap. There was no project prioritization process. There was no, hey, this is the project that should go, and this is the extent of which it benefits. We had to go through a process with our engineering community to come to the table to say, these are the best 5-6 projects as a region we should move forward with, and this is how it benefits the parishes that are involved. So
Well,
there might be opportunity in the future to get a larger set of funds. And then how do we allocate that over time? I think that was the purpose of why this commission was created. And I think Kilia, for you guys as new elected officials come on board, it might be good to sit down and have some of these conversations, because there's history here that they may not fully appreciate in terms of what all the work that has been gone into this, the creation of this commission and the work that's been done over the last 8 years. So it's.
Well, it's bigger than that, because a lot of these parishes don't have the problems we have in St. Mary. Because, for example, when you have a flood in the Mississippi River, we get it through the Chapalaya River, we get it through the Wax Lake outlet, we get it through every place. It's the only place that it comes out. And I'm wondering why. What help could we get here? I mean, I don't see it. I mean.
Yeah, and that might be an offline conversation that Gilly can maybe come meet you in St. Mary Parish, and y'all can discuss, the actual benefits and I mean, that's a decision that St. Mary Parish would certainly have to make.
We do our own. I mean, we had a flood last year and we got $14 million to fix it. Just doing what we know we can do.
And that 14 million came from where?
CPRA.
So you had to go to the state.
Took 2 days.
Yeah, but you had to go to the state. This way, we don't have to go to the state. We're our own entity. We can apply for something just like the state can. We can compete with others, with the state and then others. There's direct funding. That's what this group can do.
And look, CPRA is a different thing for us because we're right on the coast.
Yeah,
And
we are too.
we have what's your parish?
Vermillion.
We funded ourselves with a levy district. We've got a good levy district there and all. And I'm the parish president. I don't know how we're going to fit into this. Still haven't figured that out. And I was in the House for 3 terms. I know how the House works, I know how the feds work. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think you correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're in a better position as a state because there's been some changes in terms of how inland water management happens. But prior to, right after 2016, the only flood mitigation that we had at the state level for funding was DOTD's statewide flood control program, which was funded at $6 million a year. You had CPRA, which is only concentrated on the coast, and they didn't have any jurisdiction beyond the coastal zone. And then when you look at the funding that's generated at a local level, most of them are funded through gravity drainage districts, which are all funded at different levels. And so there's no real, like Lafayette doesn't have, did prior to 2016, didn't have a parish-wide drainage millage. So there was not an emphasis or a priority on drainage funding, but everybody reacted after 2016 to try to put some of these measures in place. So, it kind of rocked our world in a little different way. And now we have some funding available because there is some funding, but it's not to the extent of what to address the problems that we have. in our
Shall solve some of it by sending it to us.
Well,
This
and
is
that's
Sam.
why we're at the table
And
to
I was
have
gonna-
these
I
conversations.
I'm gonna say that, let me say this, just because I'm right, Vermillion River comes right through Abbeville, right? And Keith represents Vermillion Parish as well as this gentleman to my left. And I think us as those that are on the coast and have a river or a waterway that offsets Watershed, we benefit the most from a regional approach, right? Because right now, we don't have any input or knowledge sometimes of what's going on to our north, right? But everything that happens to our north and to the south, unfortunately, affects us, from a watershed. This is being part of a greater conversation of what's going on in that watershed and how will it or may it affect us that are downstream of that road or that project. And so for me, I see the value in that I am part of the conversation before projects to the north happen. And what those projects do to my area will be taken into consideration before they're approved, hopefully at some point, right? Or at least discussed and be knowledgeable about it. And we benefit from the science that was already, the modeling that was already done. And if we can get everybody to buy into putting into those models, then we all get to effectively see how it affects everyone around us before a project moves forward, right? That's just my take on it.
Well, come down and see me and I'll walk you through our work.
I will.
And you could probably understand a little better how, we're looking for the right word, the anus of the place.
No, and Mr. Sam, I think through watching the watershed plan and watching the forward, what's really happening. So think about it, your water, where it comes from, you just said, right?
Comes from all the way up to the,
Okay, so
Sure.
when it meets you, the Calumet County,
Minnesota.
that it meets restriction. And then it comes down there in the coastal and it comes down all these other waterways and it ends up in Vermillion Parish. And they've shown that modeling. So the plan of this is for us all to come together and say, all right, if we start rebuilding land, say on Little Bayou or Little Bay or whatever, out of Sycamore Point, that's gonna hold restriction back. So you're gonna get more. So all those modeling is so that we don't start affecting each other. So the conversation being had is, hey, yeah, we can go get funding, but how do we actually handle it? Like, they may say, they need a dredge that we actually got, right?
well, we're dredging the Chef Live right now and we finally found a solution for it. And it was
And that's
expensive.
CPRA money that's doing it. I think CPRA should have a table at this
It was
board. I
not,
don't know.
it was not
They're
CPRA,
on our technical committee.
Well, and so,
it was not CPRA, it was the federal government.
but I guess coming from a coastal community just like St. Mary, I lost my first home.
Y'all have the same problem.
Yeah.
I get it.
I represent a little bit of Iberia, Vermillion, and Lafayette. Now I'm seeing a correlation of if you look at Delcom, for instance, if Delcom's not draining, guess what? Youngsville's not draining.
That's right.
So I feel where you're coming from. I think the evolution of this board is to actually come together with a complete plan that prioritizes, like we're saying. I think having a conversation is the biggest thing in this room to get us in the right direction.
Do y'all have a levy district?
We don't, we formed one,
You formed one?
but
But you didn't fund it.
having this data is gonna start showing people just like some of our people in Iberia, they can care less about a flood district or a levy district until they flood, right?
They're starting to.
Well, I know, and I get it. I think the board is actually to bring that data, like I've talked to Sarah and other on calls, is to educate the public of where you're going. So if somebody in this room would have saw with the storm that went to you, if you see the modeling where if it came up $1 million, everybody would be doubling down on their tax money going, yeah, I'll pay. So I think that this is it's the education of the public as much as anything, and I know the funding it's kind of not apples with apples. But as I see what's coming, I think that this board could actually get the funding put in the right place where you had your funding, right? Well, what happens if the money we apply for, we compete against the Mississippi Delta, or we compete against, whereas this board has the ability to pull that funding all the way across to this way. And that's what we've been seeing. Past administration has said, well, population's all over here. And more important, I mean, we have just got 40 million in this eastern area for projects, and we've been,
Eastern area of your parish, eastern.
I
area.
mean, I'm from the eastern area, the western area of Louisiana. So,
Have y'all ever tried to do a levy district?
oh, yeah.
That gets
I mean,
the,
we have a levy district.
You do?
We don't have an actual millage to support a levy. You know what I'm saying?
well, we did the millage and we
No,
still.
we looking, I've
still
seen
got-
all y'all data. I think what y'all done is amazing. I mean, all the way down, the people that have gone,
I think y'all can get some money for that, from the state.
no, I agree. And like I said, I think this board could actually have a bigger footprint on, even with opening the locks when there's certain storms come through, right? I mean, that's all federally written policy that you gotta call the governor for the governor to call the Corps. Whereas this board can maybe eventually be that governing body that says, no, you're gonna stop doing this, we're gonna open these gates and we're gonna, you know, so.
I understand. Thank you.
Any more discussions on this, sustainable funding options, CRS or? All right, moving on to agenda item number 11.
Rachel, this did require an action. Can you guys just defer
Oh.
until November? please?
Yes,
Yes,
So we
okay.
can clear.
please.
Yep. Can I get a motion to defer on action item or agenda item number
I
11?
move, second.
Moved by Mayor White, seconded by Mayor President
Joe.
President Sam Jones, yes. Moving on to, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Your voice is back. You want to run the meeting?
It wasn't here.
Just making sure I defer. All right, moving on to, agenda item number 11, miscellaneous updates.
So, this was brought up, last meeting, on behalf of the vote, but if we can have, we want like the board to give permission for the chairperson of the Acadiana Watershed District to approve and sign support letters for name only, no funding, commitments. And I think this is in your agenda packet. It's the last page. Just because sometimes we get, we have 16 parishes, there's different, projects we're working on with UL and LSU and Tulane.
But not only that, in different parishes within the district that are applying for projects and they need letters of support from the, like, drainage projects that they may need letters of support for. So we just want to be able to facilitate for that. Without, sometimes it's the day before, hey, or 2 hours before, hey, just don't want to get cross with you guys is all.
Right, and these entities would need these support letters and names, so we wouldn't have to, have 4 meetings a year and have a big board vote. So if the board be okay, have like a short resolution that authorizes the chairperson to approve and sign non-financial letters of support for grant applications on behalf of the Acadiana Watershed District, provided such letters do not obligate the organization financially or contractually.
I move.
I'll second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. The only thing I would ask, Julia, is if you could give us a list of those projects that were supported so that the board is aware of what they're advocating for.
Yeah, when it happens, yeah.
Okay. Good. Any other, miscellaneous items?
I got a question. Look at the minutes from the technical advisory board here, looking at the attendees. Then you have at-large members that were present. We have one that says City of Lafayette, City of Maurice,
that who they represent? City of Northeast and City of Lafayette?
No, so we have a technical advisory committee. We have 2 at-large members.
Right.
Well,
So they
sorry.
don't represent those, just those communities.
Well, so there's, the way the legislation is written, we have 4 at-large seats. 2 at-large seats for population over 30,000.
Correct.
So the only 2 cities are Lafayette and Alexandria, which Alexandria has not appointed anybody, Lafayette has. Then there's 2 for municipalities under 30,000. And so I think,
What I'm saying though is they represent,
they
All
represent
the cities in that
cities
number.
under, yes.
here it looks, when I read this, it's like they're representing Lafayette and Northeast. That's how I see it. 'cause
That's
how
not
you
what
have
I
it written.
meant, so I can change that.
You know,
to say-
I'm just saying the public sees it, they're gonna
Okay.
think they have a representative,
Okay.
just like they are.
Which either over 30,000 or.
Which meeting was that?
Technical advisor,
Technical advisory.
But which date, or is it
Oh.
all of them?
March 18th is the last one.
Okay.
Moving on to Acadiana Regional Gauge Network project update. Under miscellaneous items.
You know what you can. Okay, so Acadiana Regional Gauge Network is a project that's an AP, it is an APC project. It was funded with some HMGP funds, after the 2016 flood. It is to deploy basically 100 gauges within an 8 parish region. St. Mary's has, is the 8th parish, so it's, all of our 7 parishes, so Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Martin, St. Landry, and Vermilion, as well as Acadia. I'm sorry,
St. Mary.
St. Mary. The phase 1 is completed. Those deliverables have been approved by FEMA. We are at the phase 2, portion of the project, which is the construction portion. We have our coastal use permit, our permit for the core, permit period or going to, permit is going to the core right now. We, were short on funding. We added an additional 1.5 million to that project. So we are waiting for those budget amendments to work their way through GOSEP as well as FEMA. Once that is in place and approved, we can start construction. In the meantime, 10 Vermilion Freshwater District is taking over the bulk of those gauges that are within their region, and they're even taking over some that's outside that are important to their operation. We have met with St. Mary to kind of figure out, you know, are they still interested? We are going to meet with St. Landry, Evangeline, and Acadia. I have, you know, kind of meeting requests into those different parishes to kind of same thing. Are they still interested? Because long-term operations and maintenance are going to be required for those things. I wish this district was a little bit better established and funded, because then we can take over the district can take over the operations and maintenance of those gauges, but we're not there at this point. So it's going to fall to the parishes. So hopefully, once that's all settled, as well as the budget amendment from FEMA is been approved, then we can go to construction.
Who did you speak to in St. Mary?
It was the levy district, and I don't remember who from the parish was there. Maybe the public works director.
I didn't know about it. But they were favorable, right? The levy district.
Undecided.
It's undecided at this point in time.
Okay. I'll check on that. I would be surprised if they wouldn't do it.
I do know that they do have gauges, so this would kind of work into their system. I think they were trying to figure out, they asked us, or we kind of came up with a long-term operations and maintenance, like what it's gonna cost to operate these gauges per year. Obviously, we don't operate gauges, so we're making some assumptions. And some of our assumptions, they corrected us or incorrect. Like their flow gauges, they do send people out more often. Stage gauges, unless they get an alert saying, hey, there's something wrong with gauge, that's the only time they go out there. So some of our costs on the sending, like people wise, were a little higher than what they obviously use. So they were able to kind of educate us on that kind of stuff.
Is,
But
is the Corps funding that?
no, this is, HMGP funds that are funding it. Funding the actual construction of
The construction.
Correct.
But later.
Later,
Follow.
no, operations and maintenance would fall. Tetra Vermillion is taking over, I'm gonna say the bulk of the system, they're gonna
Yeah.
operate and maintain them long term, and so those that do not fall within their district, we're meeting with those respective folks to make sure that they're still good with that.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what I have, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any other discussion or questions? All right, and then finally under miscellaneous, we have a CPRA master plan update.
I just thought if anyone had, or Jacob, I don't know if you got a chance to talk to anyone.
CPRA?
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about coming.
Yeah, and if, I don't know if that was just anticipated, I put out in the lane in case, Jacob, Reference Landers, maybe engaging Mr. Michael Harris.
Yeah.
Hearing.
No, no,
Might not have an answer.
We hadn't got any further. I know he's back and forth from Baton Rouge, but I just need a schedule. I had a visit, but I.
So we'll try to maybe facilitate that in November to have him come.
He might be able to provide a little bit of
Yeah,
information.
I'm Philip Parker from the regional office here, and I'm involved in one of the teams put together the master plan, but I'm not heading that up. All I can give you right now is that process is in works right now. You know, projects are getting submitted, there's a submittal process. And I believe that process closes sometime in October.
Yeah, October.
So you can submit projects online. It's a user-friendly type platform, if you will. And I would say this, I've been to several planning meetings for that, and they want anything you can think of. You know, if you've got a project and you think it's viable, submit it. It doesn't mean it's gonna make it to the master plan. It'll be evaluated to be put in that master plan. So that's what I know. I wasn't prepared to come and give a presentation,
Very good.
but
No,
Any information is helpful. Are
yeah,
y'all putting the locks on there?
Was the first thing that came up in our regional meeting.
Okay.
So, yeah.
so yeah, they posted.
You need an endorsement letter?
Not right now, they don't need it right now, they just need the project, and anyone can submit a project. Anyone in the public
Yeah,
can get in
the
there,
homeowner can.
anyone can put a project.
Does it hold more weight if it comes from a governmental entity?
I can't answer that question, but I know that like Maine Parish, Cameron Parish, they've come up with their own master plans. So that does hold some weight, that it's in a master plan.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna say your project's not gonna get ignored.
And are y'all limited to the coastal zone area?
Technically, yeah, but I mean, there's projects that come through there. You know, I mean, it's gonna get screened out. All the projects are gonna get screened through the master plan process. So.
So it has to be in direct connection with the coast or to.
I wouldn't say that.
It's within the CPRA area.
Yeah, I mean,
There's a map of the coverage area online.
it should be, but even if you think it's not connected to the coast, that's it. It's
Yeah,
gonna
let
get
them screen
screened.
it out.
It's gonna get screened, so. Yeah, and then the next phase would be, once they've got, they'll do some type of very high level modeling on these things. And then they'll put that together. I believe the budget they work with, it's not money they have in hand, it's the budget they have to make the master plan. I believe it's 50 million, maybe.
That's a big difference.
No,
Until we get to the
Is there a
master
plan?
plan, doesn't mean it's gonna get money. So. but if it
The
makes-
budget is about
Is there a plan
1.7
that's
million.
Okay.
Walking in.
So, that's what Cool.
Thank you.
Cool.
Any other miscellaneous updates? Anything from the board? All right, moving on to public comment. do we have any public comments submitted online or via the public comment card?
I think I'm there.
Um, next meeting date is November 13th at 10 a.m. And I think at this point, if there's no other discussion items, we will move for adjournment.
So move.
Moved by Matt and second by President Sanders.
Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you can, yeah, that North Country.